This is Informer News, your voice of the people. Timeline is Sunday the 20th of July 2014. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of Informer News. Coming up in this week's broadcast, ZetaTalk predicts increasing visibility of the Planet X complex, and the countdown to Planet X and the pole shift is undeniable. Plus, whistleblower warns war between ETs and humanity has started. Plus, the hollow Earth. Government insider speaks out, confirming the Earth is hollow. And the Sun is a living star. Is the Sun hollow? Okay, into this week's news. The hollow Earth. This first report originates from hollowplanet.blogspot.co.uk, titled Government Insider Speaks Out, and this was posted by Shiloh. A government insider who worked in an underground installation near Groom Lake Area 51 base in Nevada speaks from his understanding and personal experience about government knowledge of the inner realms of planet Earth. He acknowledges Admiral Byrd's flight into the inner realms, as well as the very warm area surrounding the approximately 50 miles diameter opening with flora and fauna at the Earth's polar regions. He also discusses the fleets of UFOs, or unexplained crafts, that emerge from these openings on a regular basis that are closely monitored by the governments on the surface. Perhaps most importantly and most interesting is this acknowledgement of our government's understanding of the fallacies in the mainstream concept of the nature of gravity. The insider makes claims of having been briefed on the true nature of gravity, and that gravity is not an inherent property of matter, but is rather magnetic in nature and stems from the emanation of our sun. This revelation dovetails nicely with the ideas of push gravity and removes the main argument scientists have against hollow Earth. This following report also originates from the hollowplanet.blogspot.co.uk, titled The Sun, a Living Star, posted by Shiloh. If the hollow Earth is being kept a secret from us, just what other anomalies and truths are being held back? We speak a lot about the inner Earth and how planets with intense surface conditions may actually foster favourable conditions for sustaining life on the inner surface. The Sun, as we know it, is not a flaming ball of hydrogen, but rather a solid, hollow shell. This shell, according to some intriguing reports from astronauts and the like, does not give off light in the visible spectrum. In fact, most, if not all, stars do not give off light in the visible spectrum. Rather, it is the interaction of the energy they emit with our atmosphere that produce both light and heat. These are the facts that are being withheld from the public. In addition, if you were to attempt to measure the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere from space, you would encounter a superheated layer of atmosphere at the boundary of the Earth's atmosphere with space. This in turn would cause you to believe that the Earth's atmospheric conditions were unsuitable for sustaining life. Also, it would skew attempts at discerning the gases that compose the atmosphere. Attempts at ascertaining the composition and or temperatures of the Sun are similarly skewed. It is well known that the corona or outer atmosphere of the Sun is at least 1 million times hotter than its surface. Our scope of what can or cannot sustain or support life is extremely narrow. It's much like an ant trying to fathom the complexity of international banking and finance from the limited confines of its beloved anthill. We must realize our own limitations and stop projecting them upon the grand scope of the universe. For instance, once thought impossible, a bacteria was found in a California lake that had substituted arsenic for phosphorus in its fundamental building blocks of life. life is found to thrive in the high temperatures of undersea volcanic vents, and Antarctic fish have a radically altered type of blood to allow it to thrive in the cooler temperature extremes. So too, it is likely that each star is a planetoid, literally teeming with a life form we perhaps cannot yet relate with, and the inner surface of the sun is its veritable paradise. Wouldn't it be comforting to look up into the sky and know that everywhere there is a pinpoint of light, there is life? Someday in the future, we will see the vastness of space as a broiling cauldron that is teeming and overflowing with life, much as we currently understand the depths of our oceans to be. At that time, we will have evolved and expanded our consciousness beyond the confines of our anthill. For today, however, we are left to fantasize and wonder at the grandeur of existence. This following report originates from UFOdigest.com, titled Whistleblower, World War III, a war between hostile ETs and humanity has started, by Alfred Libremont Weber, JD, MED. Michael Prince, an active duty whistleblower trained to be a cyborg super soldier assassin in SS and MI6 UK intelligence networks, has stated that World War III, a war between hostile extraterrestrial civilizations and the human civilization, has started. Armed hostilities between human forces and hostile extraterrestrial forces are now taking place frequently, Mr. Prince stated. An ET false flag operation is also planned. Humans allied with the Grey Reptilian Military Industrial Extraterrestrial Complex, MIEC, are concurrently preparing a false flag ET invasion. Mr. Prince stated, the negative extraterrestrial human alliance intent on Earth takeover is referred to as the Military Industrial Extraterrestrial Complex, MIEC, superior survival dynamics of Homo sapiens. Because of the superior survival dynamics of the human species, Mr. Prince states, human society will defeat the hostile extraterrestrial civilizations that consist mainly of a Grey and Draco reptilian faction. It is a dangerous situation, Mr. Prince states at the end of the interview. However, all is under control and people should not panic. In 1964, US intelligence expected a Grey Reptilian ET takeover in 2000 to 2030. The current war between hostile extraterrestrial Grey Draco Reptilian faction and humanity has been in development for a number of decades. In his book, Michael Prince reveals that in 1964, US intelligence agencies had concluded that a Grey Reptilian extraterrestrial alliance had a timetable for a planetary takeover of Earth sometime during the 2000 to 2030 period. He writes on April 15, 1964, two US intelligence personnel met under Project Plateau with the Greys in the New Mexican desert to arrange a meeting on April 25th at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. This meeting was to renew the treaty that had started in 1934 again, and was a psychological bid to buy time in order to solve the problem of the Grey and Draco reptilians. The upper levels of US intelligence now believes the Greys and Dracos had this planet timetable for an invasion and takeover between the year 2000 and 2030. To view the full transcript, go to my website, endtimes23.com, where I've posted the link. There's a live link to my website near the end of this video. This next segment originates from ZetaTalk.com's newsletter, issue 404, and this was posted on Sunday, June the 29th, 2014, titled Planet X Visibility. The Zetas have predicted increased visibility of the Planet X complex, and drastic evidence of this is at hand in Alberta's photos of late. The corpus of Planet X is usually hidden behind a dense dust cloud, so that it most often has appeared as a dim fuzz ball compared to the brilliant light emitting from the moon's swirls. But lately the corpus has begun showing its face. Note that at sunrise the ecliptic slants from lower left to upper right, so Planet X appears almost at the 3 o'clock position. Then at sundown the ecliptic changes its slant from upper left to lower right, so Planet X moves to the 6 o'clock position in the view from Earth. Timeline anxiety. Since the start of the Zeta Talk saga, the public has demanded and begged to know the date of the pole shift. The arguments are reasonable. With a known date, families can prepare and be in a safe location in a timely manner, working their jobs and spending their paychecks on supplies, etc. But the rule has always been that mankind should not be told the date, and the reasons are equally as compelling. Those wanting to mass murder or control the populace, forcing them into slave labour, would likewise put the date to use for these agendas. The Zetas have only been allowed to give mankind a series of signs, a progression in the Earth changes, only detailing with timing precision the last weeks, thus looking at the stretch of time between the present and the last weeks. Many get anxious. Every twist or turn of the wobble, every unusual earthquake brings the cry, are we about to enter the last weeks? Zeta Talk lecture, the 14th of the 6th, 2014. The twists and turns that Planet X and Earth take during their passage are not linear. These planets are dancing partners. The Earth has been in a daily wobble since 2004, and this involves a daily polar push against the Earth's magnetic North Pole with a figure 8 rebound. Were that not compelling enough? In trying to align with both the Sun's magnetic field and the magnetic field of Planet X, the Earth will attempt various maneuvers, such as a lean into opposition or a temporary lean to the left. Planet X, for its part, encounters both Venus and the Dark Twin in its path, and where these are pushed away, they are both subject to different influences and thus return. This messy scenario will continue until the last weeks. This final report originates from Examiner.com and ZetaTalk.com, titled Countdown to Pole Shift, Undeniable Signs of Planet X Nibiru and Earth Changes. What if life as you know it is literally and completely turned on its head? Are there signs you can use as a guide to countdown to the pole shift? Yes, without a doubt. According to the Zetas of Zeta Talk, the 3 undeniable signs that a momentous event is about to take place will include, but are not limited to: 1. Simultaneously increasing volcanic activity and earthquakes in the 9 magnitude range. 2. A red fine dust that turns the waters of Earth blood red. And 3. A slowing and eventual stoppage of the Earth's rotation. Ruth Montgomery, an intuitive prophet and author of many books, including Strangers Amongst Us, written in 1979, predicts Earth changes in this time period, involving a shift in the Earth's axis and crust. She said survivors of the axis shift, pole shift, will number not in the billions but in the millions. She also wrote of shift warnings like increasingly violent weather, eruptions of ancient volcanoes, earth tremors of major proportions, and tidal waves of monumental scope. Montgomery said that shortly before the actual shift, there will be 2 specific types of warnings. 1. Eruptions of ancient volcanoes in the Mediterranean islands, South America, and California, and 2. Shortly thereafter, earth tremors of major proportions and momental tidal waves affecting land masses in northern Europe, Asia and South America. She said ferocious and devastatingly high winds will sweep away most above ground structures, and civilization will diminish as earth changes wipe out or render useless hydroelectric plants, housing developments, office buildings, skyscrapers, dams, refineries, communication lines, dock facilities and more. Montgomery also predicts UFO and alien sightings will be on the increase, which is currently happening around the world. To view the full transcript, go to my website, endtimes23.com, where I've posted the link. There's a live link to my website near the end of this video. Okay, my friends, you're all invited to join this channel by subscribing to End Times 23, which is a totally free subscription service. You're also invited to add me as a friend on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. If you'd like to drop me a line on my blog, by all means do so. Or if you'd like to join one of my circles in Google+, the links are under this video. All this week's news links can be found on my website, endtimes23.com. There's a live link to my website near the end of this video. Well, that's your lot for this week, my friends. I do hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll be back with you in a week's time with another edition of Cosmic News. So until then, this is your informer signing off, friends. I'll see you on the flip side.